All right. So it should say it's recording. Everybody see that?
Yeah, perfect.
All right.
Great.
This is so cool.
Yeah, this is super awesome.
Yeah.
It's so great to see everybody. I've been missing everybody, seeing you all, but mostly hearing you all. And I'm so proud of you all the students and the families and the teachers for adapting so quickly to our new situation. And thank you so much, Teddy, for doing this and bringing us together from afar. It's great to see so many people, and we're really looking forward to this opportunity. I just wanted to say really quick, we have some more guest workshops coming up, and we're going to be sending out an email later this week. We have a songwriting workshop with Will Oldham or Bonnie Prince Billy on April 6th. We're going to do a live puppet music show with Squalus Puppeteers on April 4th, and we're going to do a workshop with the Louisville Orchestra Social Distancing Quartet, along with other things. So look out. This is a new place where we can all gather. So I'm going to introduce Teddy now, who is the conductor for the Louisville Orchestra, and he's also an innovator and a leader in the classical music community. And thank you so much for offering this opportunity for our students and being so flexible.
Wow. Well, first of all, that is an amazing lineup of things that you've planned for them, Sarah. Wow. I'm super impressed. You guys are in for a treat. I know a lot of those folks, and those are going to be really, really fun things to do. Especially, Will Oldham. Wow, he's a legendary songwriter. So just making sure everybody can hear. Okay. All right. Kind of wave if you can hear me. Okay. All right. Oh wow. Okay, that's fantastic. I even see some people with maybe they're chopsticks or maybe they're full batons. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty impressed that you guys were able to get those. So that's good for you. That's the first step. I have my baton here. I brought it along. And I also brought, what's even more important than a baton, I brought a score. Now, I don't know if anybody has seen a full orchestra score before. But you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to share my screen. So let's just see if this is helpful. I'm going to share this screen. This is my. Can you all see this now?
Yes.
That's what it looks like. We're looking at the Beethoven's 7th Symphony. Okay. Now I'm sure you've seen something like this before. But this is the most important part of conducting, actually. It's not really waving your arms around, right? Waving your arms around is really fun, but that is the last thing that you get to do. You know what I mean? I know this is so annoying. It's kind of like anything, though, like ice skating. You know, before you get to do a double axel or a triple Lutz, you just learn to skate and you learn how the skates work and how to balance yourself. It's the same thing with anything. It's like before you can, do the fun part, it's good to know how the things work. Now, I actually think this is the fun part. Well, I got to admit, he's chatting with me right now. Okay, so here is the situation. Look at this. Look at all this work that goes into writing a score like this, okay? Do you see how crazy that is? Let's take a look at how a score is structured. So obviously the easy parts. Can you see my mouse moving around too?
Yes.
Great. We know just the basic information about the piece, but here's where it gets interesting, okay? Oops. So take a look right here. First things first, if you're taking a look at a piece of music, it requires a conductor. And that means, a piece of music with enough people that, you need somebody to help guide it through. Because as you can see, if you just have 3 or 4 people, they can play together. Even 8 or 9 people can probably play together. But when you get to 30, 40, 50 people, they can't all play together. It'd be very, very hard. It would just imagine, did I draw that? I think I did. Just imagine this. Just imagine that you had 30 people in a room and you wanted everybody to say a line from a song together. Not even sing it, just speak it. Just say to be or not to be. Or even just one word. How about yesterday? How would you get everybody to say one word together? You can't. You need somebody to help guide it. We can't. We're not all psychic, but conducting is a little bit psychic. That's what I say. Oh, let me admit somebody here. Admit them. 4 more people were waiting. Okay, now they should be in too. Okay, great. So look at this. First things first, if you're going to write a piece of music that requires a lot of people, you got to decide all the instruments that you're going to choose. Those are flutes, right?
Who's that?
Oboes, clarinets, bassoons. They write usually in Italian or German in most classical music. That's just those are the languages that were the most important during the time when all these systems were being developed. What do you think corny are? Horns. Those are French horns. You can probably guess trombas, trumpets. Timpani are the big drums, obviously, sometimes called the kettle drums. And then all the strings go down here. Next, of course, you probably already know this, but you have to choose a tempo marking. This is Beethoven's 7th Symphony, okay? It's a very famous tempo marking because it's not very clear. It's famous that Beethoven didn't make it very easy for us to understand what he meant. Look at these 2 words, poco sostenuto, a little bit sustained. What on earth is a little bit sustained? How fast is that? It's not very helpful, right? Now, this is a little more helpful right there. That's the metronome marking. That tells you that, obviously you know this, the quarter note equals 69 beats per minute. That's easy to figure out. But what does this mean? Every musician who plays this piece is going to look at this, poco sostenuto. This is one of the reasons why a conductor is important, not just to get everybody to play at the same time, but to help us all imagine what that means. Because if you get 40 people in a room, it's going to turn into Congress, right? They're all going to argue with each other. Nobody's going to agree with each other about what poco sostenuto means, and we're going to have to get a big bailout. So what we do is we get a conductor who spends a lot of time thinking about this. Now, let's look at this because this is something that you might not have thought of before. Have you ever tried to play a C natural on a piano and then a C natural on a clarinet? And then what happens is it's not the same note. That's because all the people who invented all these instruments just had to make it even more complicated for us. And one of the things that they figured out way back when is that the instruments were not all that great. The technology wasn't there 300 years ago and 200 years ago. So all the different instruments didn't necessarily play in the same key. That meant that if you wanted a clarinet to play in the key of, say, E flat, they wouldn't be able to play very well in tune. Even old pianos or the instruments before piano, like a harpsichord, couldn't play in certain keys very well until new technology came around. So anyway, this is all to say that, look at this. If I look at the first notes, that flute plays this, A and C sharp. Okay, then the oboes play A and C sharp. That sounds pretty good. Sounds like A major to me, right? Can you hear that? Everybody can hear that on the piano? Okay, so let's look at the clarinets. They play C natural and E. So let's play that all together with the clarinets. Let's do that again. Here's what it sounds like. Does that sound like Beethoven to you? No, Beethoven didn't write chords like this. So what's the problem? Well, that clarinet right there, they're not playing those real notes. They actually finger on the clarinet a C and an E, but when you hear it, it sounds like this, so it fits. Then we get the bassoons down here, okay? Okay, A and C sharp. The horns have the same problem. They don't play in the key of C like a piano. Their C naturals come out sounding like an A. The trumpets are supposed to be playing a G. So if we really played all these notes together, this is what it would sound like. Obviously, that's way too jazzy for Beethoven, so that's not what the trumpets play either. They play their G, which sounds like an A. Then you get the timpani. Okay, that's clear. Then you have the violins. Hey, who plays violin? Can you raise your hand if you play violin? Okay, I can only see 5 of you, so I have no idea how many. But here's the thing about the violins right there. That's a lot of notes for a violin. 4 strings, and you got to play 1 note on each string. So here's a big question for the orchestra. Do you play them all together? Do you divide them up? Or do you try and do it really fast so you can't hear it so it sounds like that? Or do you try and make it slower? You got to make all these decisions. Second violins, they do the same thing. Violas only get 3 notes for some reason. And then the cellos and the basses. All right, so should we find out what this thing sounds like? Okay, well, let's start putting it together. Who knows what that C means right there? common time. It's a little hard to ask questions. Oh, is somebody else waiting here? No. It's a little hard to ask questions, but that means common time. So that's one of the first things we have to decide as a conductor. That means that we have to beat 4 beats per measure, okay? So one of the most important things that we do as a conductor is to show where the beats are. It's the very basic thing. It's not that exciting. So we're all going to practice this together. I'm going to stop sharing this for a second. I want everybody to take, if they have a pencil or if they have a baton, okay? And we're going to learn how to conduct the patterns of music, because this is our very first job, okay? Even before we do anything fancy, like, show people how to do poco sostenuto and really be exciting about, the character of Beethoven and telling stories about how, Beethoven was going through a difficult time and couldn't find a girlfriend, and he was so sad he wrote the second movie. Like, before you do anything exciting like that, we got to learn how to conduct the basic patterns, okay? So let's practice this together. We're going to start with a march. Okay, because a march is very easy. Marches have 2 beats per measure. You go like bum ba da bum 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 beep beep da 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 bum 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 ba da bum bum. It's always 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. So we're gonna practice that right now. Okay, so everybody hold your hand up with your baton. If you don't have a baton, you can use a chopstick. You can use a pencil. Some people don't do anything. Now you use your right arm. Okay. This is just like Professor Flitwick, okay? Remember Swish and Flick from Harry Potter? Mr. Potter, Swish and Flick. Okay, everybody got it in their right hands? Very good. Now you're gonna wanna hold out your arm a little bit, okay, so that people can, do you see how I'm not, there are 3 rules here. I know there's so much to talk about with conducting, we have so little time. This looks weird. Do you see what this is? That's called the goose, no goose, okay? Second, don't hold your hand like that. That's called the windshield wiper. No windshield wiper, okay? And then, there are a few others, but we're not gonna go into that. So here's what we're gonna do. Hold it out and point your baton or your finger or your pencil, whatever, straight ahead, okay? Now what we're going to do is we're gonna go up from the middle as if you were forming kind of like an L shape, and then down and out to the right, okay? Okay, see how I formed kind of like an L that swishes up a little bit, then back the way you came. So down and out to the right, and then back the way you came. Okay, now let's keep doing that. We're gonna go at this tempo. 1, 2, 1, 2. Down, out, up, back. Down, out, up, back. Down, out, up, back. Down, out, up, back. Now, okay, good. You all look like you're doing pretty well. How do people know where the actual beat is? Well, take a look at this shape. See where it stops right there and then moves out to the right and then moves back. What I'm doing is doing a little click. See that click? Do you see that? Watch in slow motion. I'm going to do it very close to the camera. Down and then click. And it's like my baton just kind of bounces out to the right. Then it comes back and then it bounces back up. It's like a ball. A ball falls and then it boom bounces. And then it bounces. Except this ball always bounces out to the right and then bounces back up the way it came. Bounces out to the right, then bounces up the way. Do you see that? I'm going to teach you a kind of weird word. It's called the ictus. It's not that important, but people always talk about ictus, ictus, ictus in conducting. They love. Now this is why it's so important, because if I just move around kind of like a robot and I just go down, up, down, you don't even know where the beat is. I'm just constantly moving. Orchestras would go, I don't know what that's all about. So it would be very complicated. Now watch this. If I add the click, click,
like this?
Click. Yeah, that's right. Aaron's iPad. That's very good. Okay, and then back up. Down, out with a click, back up the way you came. So try that with me, but now add the click. So instead of just going down and up, we're actually going down with a click, back with the click. That's the swish and flick, okay? That's the swish and flick. Ready? Okay, now your arms, let's start up this time, okay? Now we're gonna go and down, click, then back up with a click, down, click, back up with a click, down, click, back up with the click. Go out to your right though, okay? Some people, remember, my right might not be your right. I don't know how this is a very complex mirror technology. So make sure you're going to your right, okay? This is my right side, so I'm going that way with my beat. It's down to the right and back up the way you came. Down, click, up, click, 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 down, click. Good. Okay, so that would be, you know, if you were we're playing a march, you know, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Try it with me. Try and conduct me. We're gonna go at that tempo, okay? I'm gonna give you a 2-bar intro. I'm gonna go 1, 2, 1, 2. Then you're all gonna conduct me together. I'm gonna choose somebody to watch, okay? With a down and then back up with a click. 1, 2, ready, go. Down, up, 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 and we're done. Okay, good. Now, as you probably know, because you're all great musicians already, most music is not just in beats of 2. We haven't gone into 4. Can you think of another number, very obvious, that music often comes in? Okay, well, obviously 3. All waltzes are in 3. That's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Okay, very common. So we need to learn how to do that. Let's practice 3. Everybody hold your wand out, okay? Now this is where it's a little more complicated. 3 goes like this. We go down, but don't go out. You just kind of bounce in place. Then we go out to the right and click again, then back the way you came. So it's down and bounce, then to the right and bounce, then up the way you came. So down, right, and then back up. Down, right, then back up. Now hold your arms out so we can all see it. And here's the next thing. Conducting is just like dating. Maybe you don't know about that yet. I don't even know about that very much, but this is what I know. They always say, you got to be confident. Conducting is about confidence. You could be a very bad conductor, but if you're confident, you'll get lots of jobs, okay? That's the first secret of conducting. Don't be scared. You got to get yourself out there, okay? Here we go. Then to the right and back up. Here we go. Down click, right click, up click, down click, right click, up click. Now I want you to keep doing that right and up and 1 and 2 and 3. Now do this for me because this is the first thing we're going to learn about emotion. Everybody, while you're doing this, smile. 1, 2, it's a happy piece. 1 and 2 and 3, it's a happy piece. You're very happy. I see some people concentrating too hard on how they're moving their batons. Now it's going to be a very sad piece, so frown. Kind of sad frown. See, it's a sad piece now. Oh, it's not a very happy piece. Okay, now everybody, we're gonna be surprised. Look surprised. A lot of conducting is about showing emotion, not just beating time. You can ask my friends from the Louisville Orchestra. They don't need me to show them 1, 2, 3. They need some help with emotion. We all do, okay? Now, that's just a test, okay? Pretty good. Can we try this? Can we try this? We're gonna do, because music changes all the time. We're gonna do 2 bars of sad, 2 bars of surprise, 2 bars of crazy, and 2 bars of happy, okay? 2 bars of sad, 2 bars of surprise, 2 bars of crazy, and 2 bars of happy. Did you all get that? Sad, surprised, crazy, happy. And by 2 bars, I mean 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. All right, ready? About this tempo. 1, 2, and go. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Now change. I want to see it in your face. What are you doing? Okay. Remember this next one. What's this? What are you doing? Crazy. Where's crazy? And now happy. 1, 2, 3. Now you probably think that's a little silly. Let me tell you why that's not so silly. Because a lot of times in music, the emotion will change every single beat. Like there could be a big happy beat, then a quiet beat right here, then maybe a little bit mysterious, then a little bit hopeful, then powerful, then not so sure. Where is this music going? Oh, maybe it's found its way. Then somebody's calling out. Okay, do you see that? You gotta show all that because the musicians are looking at you to help guide them. All right, now we're ready to learn the big one. This is beating in 4. Now it's gonna be a pattern of 4. You can probably guess what this is. Hold your arms out, and we're going down. Then we're going left. Then we're going right, but all flat. Then up the way we came. So here we go. Down, left, right, up the way we came. Now you got to still click. So down with a click, left with a click, right with a click, and then up with a click right in the middle. So it looks like a T that's upside down. See how I'm making a T that's upside down? And then back up the way we came. So down with a click, then left with a click, then right with a click, then up the way we came with a click. Okay, so let's try that a few times. I'm going to give you 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to play music in 4. So 1, 2, ready, go. 1, 2, 4. 1, and then left and right and up and down and left and right and up with a click. Down and left and right and up. Now, not all music is in 2, 3, or 4. Sometimes it's in 1. That's easy. 1 is just down with a click, down with a click, down with a click. Especially, pieces of music that are very fast, that go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. You don't have time to go, watch this, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. Do you see how that would not be helpful for musicians? So sometimes we just go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. We let them fill it out. So if they're playing a piece like, we don't go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. What? That doesn't help that. We're trying to help the musicians. That's our job. We're not trying to make their lives more difficult by doing a weird dance. We're actually trying to help them all coordinate. So there's 1, 1, 1. You don't even need to practice that. And sometimes you get strange stuff like 5 or 7, and you have to figure out how to do that. Okay, so now what I want to do, I want to listen to the Beethoven 7th Symphony as it is. So I'm going to see if we can make this happen. Hang on just a second, okay? I want you we're going to see if we can watch this. Give me just a second to pull this up. This is with a conductor that people really think is good, okay? I don't know if it will play the video over this, but we're gonna try, okay? So bear with me, because we're all learning new technologies in the age of the stay-at-home generation. Okay, ready? Let's see this, if this works. Can you see this?
Yes. No. Yeah. We couldn't.
Now, can you hear this? Can you hear that?
No.
You can hear it?
Kind of.
It's very quiet.
It's very quiet. Hang on.
Yet.
See all my fun videos I like to watch. A lot of Conan O'Brien for some reason. All right, see if you can hear this. Can you hear that? Okay, good. We're going to go back to the beginning. Sorry, this is the Beethoven Symphony with Carlos Kleider. There he is. There's Carlos. I'll warn you, he always looks a little depressed. I don't think he was ever very happy with anything. He's conducting from memory. There he is right there, see? Oh, okay. First things first. Did you see what just happened? I want you to watch that again, okay? Watch the time between when he puts his ictus down, that's the click, and when the orchestra actually plays. Watch this again. Wow! Did you see how long it took for the orchestra to play? Did you all see that? Watch it one more time and look at the difference between when he gives the beat and when they actually play. Watch it. That's crazy, right? That's a really long time. That's very common. People are not playing exactly when you give the ictus. They're playing when they all breathe together and feel it. So there's a little interpretation. Now let's listen to this again. Here we go. And now we're going to move on to actually listen to a little bit of it. Here we go. Watch this. See, 3, 4, 1, 2, left, up, down, left, right, up, down. Oh, he's very fancy. Oh, now we have to look at the oboe. Okay, I want you to notice something. Do you see how at this level, what we're actually seeing is somebody guiding the musicians. Because when they don't need to see every single beat to know how to play together, because that's the Concerto Orchestra, one of the best orchestras in the world, they need guidance. They need somebody to help them actually know how to play the music, not just when to play the music. So that's what you're seeing right there. Now, anyway, let's take a look at one more thing. I want to show you one more video here because I want to show you that some music is a little bit more complicated than just that. This is going to be a piece of music called The Rite of Spring. Okay, are you ready to hear The Rite of Spring? I want to show you how it's not just in 4. You may know this piece already, but we're going to talk about what this is. All right, ready? Okay, share screen, then go to this. All right, let's listen to this. Watch all these beating patterns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3. Watch that. Look at all these crazy beats. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. There's very complex beating patterns. Hopefully it goes back to the conductor soon. See, the ictus is so clear. See, the bouncing is so clear. All right, so that's an example. You want to see what that music looks like on the paper? I'm going to show you that too. Hang on. Let's take a look at that because this is a pretty good example of just how crazy things can get. Oops, that is not a good example of how crazy things can get because that's Beethoven's symphony. New share. Let's do this one. Hang on. Share screen. And I think it's this. You see this now? It's all highlighted in blue. This is the Rite of Spring score. So the conductor actually has to conduct for 4 beats. See that 4, 4? Then the next one is 3 beats. Then the next one is 4 beats. Then the next one is 2 beats. So this is what happened in the 20th century. People weren't very happy just writing the same thing in the same number of beats per bar. See that little symbol right there? See that thing that I'm highlighting? That's called a fermata. Every time you see that, that means that you have to decide how long that lasts. So if I was actually conducting that, you can still see me, right? Off to the side. I think I should still be there. It would be 1, then wait. Then 2, then 3, then wait. Then they actually need another 3rd beat to know where to go. 3, and then 4. So if I played it, it would look like this. 1, then wait. Then 2, then 3, then wait. Then we get another 3rd beat here. Then 4 up, then 1. And this is going to be in 2, right? It's going to be in 3. So I got to give 2 off to the right. Then back up the way we came. Then it's going to be in 4 again. So 1, then 2. See, now we're right there. Then 3, then 4. Now, that's how complicated things can be just to beat it. And that doesn't even talk about the emotion yet. Okay, so why don't we do this? Does anybody, there's so much we could talk about, but I know that we're getting closer to the end of this. So I want to see if anybody has any questions. We'll go back to this mode here, or anything that they want to ask about in terms of how conducting works. If you do, why don't you raise your hand, I guess, your actual hand. Although 5 of you I can't really see. No questions? Does anybody want, oh, maybe somebody keeps chatting to me. Oh, well, that's very nice, thank you. Okay, so here's something I would say. If you want to be a conductor, because people always ask me, they want to be a conductor, what do you do? How would you do that? Well, here's what you have to do. You have to get really good at an instrument first. Then you have to spend all your time studying the scores. So mostly what I do, here's what I do. I'll take a look. I've got my Beethoven Symphony open. And I will go through this and I will ask the question, not just what's going on, but why. Okay? So I will say, if I'm looking at Beethoven Symphony Number 7, here's how it sounds on the piano. Why did Beethoven write those first couple of notes? What does this mean in the oboe? Is this a code? And what's going on right there? What is Beethoven trying to express? Is there something that I need to figure out about this music? Is it clear? How do I help the musicians understand what it is we're trying to all tell here? What kind of story we're trying to tell? So I'll spend a lot of time thinking about, okay, the oboe needs a cue. How are we going to get this second violins and violas in so they play nice and softly when they join? And then the orchestra needs to have a big cue for this next chord. How long should this note be? The clarinets need a little help right here. There are two of them. Then should the oboe accent this F sharp? Then should it not accent the F sharp so much, maybe? All these are decisions that I'm making. Then I look at the double basses because I think there's this great walking bass where it went from A to G sharp now to G natural. Okay, that's really powerful. Then the horn is coming. The horns are a little farther away, so maybe I encourage them not to be too late. Okay, and then I give a nice look to the flute because this is the first time the flute has anything melodic. Oops. Oh, whose is that? Hi, Cameron. Okay. Cameron, I think you're sharing your screen accidentally. I'm going to stop that there. Sorry. I didn't mean to do that. But it was very cool. Whatever you were drawing was really beautiful. But I think people might have been a bit confused. Anyway, so that's what I do this whole time. And then here's one more thing. I'll tell you one more thing about conducting. In the end, it's about all the people. Because just think about this. You get 70 musicians in a room, okay? And they all have a lot of different opinions about how to play this piece. They have a lot of different opinions about how things should go. And my job is a little bit like a coach to make sure that everybody's working together and to make everybody feel very comfortable and super excited about what they're doing and to lead all the rehearsals. When something goes wrong, I'm the only one that can really stop the orchestra to try and fix it. So that's a huge part of the job. It's like, you know, when you're the coach of a baseball team or something like that, you have to help run the practice. If everybody just decides what to do, it might just be snack time the whole time. And my job is to make sure that everybody really works hard because in the orchestra world, time is very precious. We don't have all day to rehearse. We have to rehearse during the hours that we told everybody. Otherwise, musicians, they have to eat lunch. They have to pick up their kids. They have to do all this stuff. All right. So maybe, oh yeah, Sarah.
Oh, I think Noah was typing a question. Noah, do you want to unmute and ask Teddy a question?
Yes. I was wondering if you could explain more how like a score is organized to people who might not understand it as much. Like maybe go a bit more in depth with like how a trumpet is in B flat along with a clarinet and how a saxophone would play like an E flat, like the keys.
Yeah, well, that was kind of what we were talking about a long time ago. I don't have my clarinet handy, otherwise I could show you. But here's what happened. When they first made clarinets, they were so simple. They had just two keys. Some of them had one key. If you wanted to play a scale in C major, that sounded good. But if you wanted to play a scale in B major, it would sound horrible. So they said, well, maybe we should make a new clarinet that plays in B major with a totally new C natural. So if you play the same note on a clarinet that's smaller, it sounds higher, or a big one, it sounds lower. So there are clarinets that if you play the same exact thing on the clarinet, you play it with the same fingers, it goes like this. Or. So you'll see often when you go to orchestra concerts, the clarinet players are changing their clarinets all the time. That's because the composers needed a different key for that part of the music. So that was the way it was a long time ago. Now people can play in any different key, but we still preserve some of those little bits of it. So the scores have the instruments playing notes that don't look like they belong together because that's for the musicians themselves. I'll go back to showing you this one thing here. In this piece of music, okay, when you're looking at Beethoven, the musicians on their page only see their line. The flutes only see that line. The cellos only see this line. They don't know what everybody else is doing. I tell people this all the time. It's one of the most important things about conducting is you have to help the cellos to know what the woodwinds and the brass are doing. Because otherwise they're just sitting there. Can you imagine who's ever done a play before? When you do a play, you get everybody's lines, right? You get other people's lines even if you're not saying that. But when you play in an orchestra, you don't get their line. So sometimes you're just waiting there counting 1, 2, 3, 4, play. You don't even know what's happening. So my job is to help everybody to know what the other folks are doing, even if they're just sitting there resting or they're playing long notes. I hope that kind of answers your question.
Great. Does anybody else have a question? No? I had a question. What can you describe your first conducting experience?
So, okay, I first conducted when I was 9. I really, really, really wanted to be a conductor because I saw a free concert that the San Francisco Symphony played. And I was so excited after I saw this concert. I wrote a big long letter to the conductor, whose name is Michael Tulson Thomas, and he was the music director of the San Francisco Symphony. And I said, oh, can you please teach me how to conduct? I'd like conducting lessons. And he said, well, the first thing that you should do as a conductor is play in youth orchestra and listen to what the conductor is saying to everybody else, even when he's not talking to you, and really study scores and learn pieces of music that you didn't know before. And I was lucky. I actually just did that. And there was an orchestra called the, I think Tassajara Philharmonic or something. It was a community orchestra, and they did kids concerts. And at the end of the kids concerts, they would let anybody who wanted to go up and conduct the orchestra. So you would stand in a line and everybody would get to conduct. And most people had no idea what they were doing because they didn't even teach you how to do it. But I came prepared with my score and I had studied it. And you know what piece it was? It was the Beethoven 7th Symphony, the second movement, which goes. And I was ready. I still didn't know what I was doing. I was probably a terrible conductor, but I was doing my very best, and I was very excited. I will tell you this. I don't know what it's like to fly a 747 or maybe a space shuttle or something like that, but I would bet that's a pretty cool thing to do, like a once in a lifetime kind of thing. That's how I felt when I conducted for the first time. I felt like this was the most amazing thing I'd ever done in my life, the coolest feeling. It was like flying. Actually, it was like flying yourself in the air. I can't even describe it. There's nothing quite like it. It was so amazing, and I knew I had to do this for the rest of my life, and I'm still doing it. There's nothing like the feeling of giving a cue and having the whole orchestra come in. That there's something we didn't even talk about, that when you want to get the music started, you actually just can't start with beat 1. You have to give 1 beat before. So every time if the orchestra is playing on 1, if they go 1, 2, 3, you actually have to give 1 beat before. If it goes upbeat, then boom. And that's when they come to play. And the upbeat has to be in exactly the right tempo. Many conductors go wrong because they don't know how to give the upbeat in the right tempo. They go like this. Okay, well, how that doesn't help anybody. That doesn't tell you what tempo the piece is, especially if it's a lot slower. That's one of the most common things. Somebody also asked about what the left hand does. Left hand is very advanced. The left hand is used for emotion. So it's used to show that something is sustained or something is choppy or to bring out a part. So for instance, you don't just go 1, 2, you don't just mirror all the time. Unless you're conducting, a giant band and you're all marching. Or if you're conducting an opera and you need to get everybody to see, you might go, okay, mirror the hands so everybody can really see. But if you're conducting an orchestra and it's a piece of music that everybody knows and understands, I might do, a lot of times my left hand will do not too much or a little bit more, or we'll do a motion like this, smoothing it out, or we'll be like this, choppy, 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 choppy. It will do that. So I might be conducting 1, 2, 3, 4, and moving my left hand out. See that? See how it's keeping everything sustained? Or I'll go, now it's supposed to be very staccato. Now it's supposed to be very staccato. Or I might just say, hey, flutes, your turn. I'll raise my hand up 2 beats before the flutes come in and come in right there. And I'll look to the violin and say, hey, violins, it's your turn off to the left. Then I'll go over to the cellos and go 2, 3, 4, your turn. So I give cues, which are like invitations to play. Now, the musicians know when to play, but they sometimes need a cue just to help confirm it. Everybody likes to feel like they're in exactly the right place. Sometimes the cue might be somewhere between beat 2 and 3. It might be 1, 2, come in, 3, 4, 1, 2, come in. So I might go 1, 2, and. I might actually go 1, 2, and 3, 4 to help make it really clear. Okay, but you can do all kinds of things. If I make a fist, that kind of looks like this should be very energetic, like the beginning of Beethoven's Fifth Symphony. I might even use the left hand. Power up, everybody! Power up! Power up! Power up! Power up! Ba 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 ba! Right. So the left hand shows the emotion. Shows like you see in band conductor videos with cartoons. You don't just conduct the same thing with the. See how silly that looks? That's Mickey Mouse conducting. Okay, that's Bugs Bunny conducting. That's not real conducting. See, anybody can mirror their hands like that. That's silly. That's what people do when they don't know. The left hand is special. I always say, unless you have a magical left hand that can do exactly what your right hand does, put it down. But I was teaching a class with actual, conducting students, and they kept using their left hand, and they don't even know what you're doing. You're just confusing people. Pull your left hand down, conduct with your right hand. When you're ready to use a left hand, you can use it. All right, so that's a big answer to that question. Any other questions? Your time to learn all the secrets. I feel like
I think somebody asked, Cameron asked, when did you start playing piano? We have a lot of pianists here.
Oh, good. Well, piano is a really good instrument if you're interested in conducting. Even though it's not the most common instrument in the orchestra, it is a really good instrument to learn scores. Because if you're trying to play scores on a trumpet, it's not very helpful. You can only play one line at a time. So piano is a great instrument for conducting because you can play all the parts when you're studying the score. I started playing piano when I was about 3. I just started improvising. And then I wasn't all that great at the piano. I was fine. I started playing the clarinet when I was 8. And I don't know why, but the clarinet came to me much faster. And I loved it. And I loved playing it. But the piano, I had to work hard, and I didn't like practicing the piano. I liked making my own stuff up at the piano. I didn't like to practice, I liked to improvise. And my teachers did not like that very much, and they didn't encourage me to improvise. And I, to this day, feel like they were very wrong. They should have encouraged me to improvise because I like that. They should have let me play the music that I like. Now, I had some teachers later on that encouraged that, then I was very happy. So that's the story. I caught up on the piano, but it took a lot of work. Oh, and somebody has raised their hand. Solveig. I'm going to unmute you there. I think I unmuted you. You want to tell me your question? No.
We can't hear you all.
Oh yeah, we can't hear you. I think your mic is not on or something. But you can write it down there in the message board.
You could put it in the chat.
You put it in the chat. Yeah. All right. Any other questions?
Meg, Yoko Martin down there. Mm-hmm.
Oh,
Do you ever play your clarinet with the orchestra?
I have done that. Yes, I played the Copeland Clarinet Concerto with them. They don't let me play in the orchestra because there are a lot of rules about. Actually, no. Hang on. I take that back. They usually don't let me play with the orchestra because there are a lot of rules about who can do that. And you have to audition for the Louisville Orchestra, and I did not audition on the clarinet. And that's probably a good thing because I've never won an audition in my life. I'm very bad at taking auditions because I get very mad and I'm very hard on myself. So I don't do very well in audition situations. And I always tell people that's totally fine. If that's not for you, that's good. Don't beat yourself up over that. So the answer to the question is the one time, yes. We were playing an interesting piece of music by Mozart called the Grand Partita. And it calls for a whole bunch of clarinets that are all playing a different kind of clarinet. And they let me play with them. And it was super fun. It was so much fun. I had such a good time doing that. Because I always tell people this. If you are a conductor, you have to keep playing an instrument. You can't quit. Otherwise, how will you remember how hard it is to do it? Sometimes, it's like when I watch sports and you see these coaches just like yelling from the sidelines, like, then you go try and do it. Can you do that dunk? I don't think so. Get yourself out on the field and show us how it's done. So that's one of the reasons why I keep playing music so that people can't say, well, you don't even do it yourself. I do it myself. I don't ask anybody to do something that I wouldn't do. That, you know what I mean? Like a chef that won't eat his or her own food. I wouldn't trust that. They should test taste it. So I still play. I practice every day. And music's hard. I will tell you this, music is very hard. If you're conducting, you're just screaming and yelling at people like in all the cartoons of conductors. They make them seem like mad people that are always yelling, you know, really, do it like this. That's not real conducting. Nobody is excited to do things when you scream and yell at them and tell them that they can't do something. You have to make them feel like they can do it. That's because a lot of conducting is more about psychology than actually the score. It's a lot about the score, but a lot of it's about psychology. If the orchestra likes you, they're going to play really well for you, even if you're a bad conductor. If they like you, I would say this, that if you put somebody up on the podium, Andy Bashir, everybody likes him right now. If he went to conduct the orchestra, I could teach him just what I taught you, and they'd play really well because they'd be so excited because he's so popular. I'm telling you, I've seen it happen before. I've seen it happen with just somebody standing in the room, not even conducting. The orchestra they wanted to play their best, so they played better. It's all about psychology. It's very mysterious. All right, any other questions before I release everybody?
There's a chat that just came up.
Oh, and there is one from Jasper. Okay, it says, what does it take to build a musical relationship with all of the orchestra members? How do you get everyone to share one interpretation? Oh, that's a very, very good question. Here are two things. When I'm conducting the Louisville Orchestra, I know everybody in the orchestra very well. They're all my colleagues. But a lot of times I'm conducting an orchestra that I've never even met before. So something they call that guest conducting. And I go and conduct them. I've never even seen one person in the orchestra. I have 4 rehearsals to make it sound good. So a lot of what you do is about this sense of leadership. If you get up there, you have to know, leading is about understanding the people that you're leading. It's not about saying, this is my way, and we're all going to do it. This is my version of this piece. Each member of the Louisville Orchestra has been playing this music for years. Some of them have been in the orchestra longer than I've been alive. I need to work with what they play. My job is not to tell them how to do it better. My job is to build what they already bring to the table and do that well. So you see what I mean? If I go to an orchestra I've never conducted before, I listen to how they're playing and then try and mold it. It's like a little bit like a sculptor. You can't just arbitrarily choose the materials. You have to work with the materials that you have and make that as beautiful and as perfect as you can. And that's a great thing because it means every orchestra has a different personality. So one of the things that you always do is at first you just try and be sensitive. You be very sensitive so you understand the people that you're working with. You don't just start talking. I will tell you this, that orchestras don't like it when the conductor talks too much, okay? If you have something really funny to share, that's good. People like it when you're funny. People like funny people. It's good to be a little bit funny, even if it's not even that relevant. Sometimes I'll just throw in a joke or two, you know, or I'll make a description. I'll say, you know, that part really sounded a little bit more like a T-Rex, and people like that. They understand that. So does that make sense? You have to connect with people as human beings first. Oh, and then, okay, then a couple other questions. How do you keep up conducting skills during this current time? Oh, that's a good question. You keep studying, you keep practicing, you keep thinking. But a lot of what my job, I'm not just a conductor, you know, my job is to actually lead the orchestra. So I have to make all the programs and help raise money and think about marketing the orchestra and sales and subscriptions and all these things. So a lot of my work right now has moved into thinking about that. And also to dealing with what we're all facing right now. So I spend a lot of my time thinking about how to move music online and what that will look like. We've been coming up with a lot of really cool projects that we're going to release soon. So sometimes conducting is not just about actually waving your arms. It's actually sometimes about thinking. You know, you need to be a big thinker, but you also have to keep practicing and studying. And what is your favorite and or least favorite score that you've ever conducted? Well, you really don't have the luxury of having a least favorite score because you can't get in front of the orchestra. Even if, let's say some orchestra has hired you to come conduct a piece and you don't like it. You can't go tell them, oh, I hate this piece. Why am I doing it? They don't want to hear you complaining and whining. Nobody likes whiners. So if you go conduct them, you have to make them excited about the piece, even if they hate it. With an unnamed orchestra, not the Louisville Orchestra, another orchestra, I had to conduct this piece. I thought it was the worst piece of music ever composed. It was so stupid. And the orchestra hated it. I hated it. But my job was to make it sound really good. So in the rehearsals, we changed things. I even like added some repeats because some of the music just didn't make any sense. It was felt like it was missing whole bars. So we added things in. We tried to have fun with it. And I reminded them of a little story that my teacher told me. And it was something that he had learned from one of his teachers. If you ever play a concert and you're playing a Brahms sonata or a Beethoven symphony or Rite of Spring, at the end of the concert, when the audience claps, mostly they're clapping for Brahms, Beethoven, and Stravinsky. They're happy that you played it well, but you know, your job was to make that music basically come to life. They're not so excited for you. You're not some great hero. You didn't compose it. You just played it well. Good for you. On to the next concert. But if you play some terrible piece of music and the audience goes crazy, they're clapping for you because you made it really good. You know what I mean? You know that the piece was not what they were clapping for. You did it. So sometimes I take that as a challenge. I say, challenge accepted. I'm going to make this terrible piece of music into something really amazing, because you can always do that. The way you start a piece of music, the way you play something has to do with how you feel emotional about it. So in other words, you can bring tons of emotion to a piece of music that you hate, and you can also play a great piece of music very terribly. So I always say, play everything as well as you possibly can. That's my weird way of saying. Now you asked what my favorite piece is. I don't know. It's so hard to say. Some pieces are really fun to conduct. Like we did a Mahler symphony. We played Mahler Symphony No. 5. Oh man, that is fun to conduct, because I always say in Mahler, you actually are important. Once the musicians start playing a Mozart symphony, there's not that much for you to do. You can encourage them and help them to play it more, with more character, but they don't need you to show all the beats all the time. We can handle that. We can play without the conductor, actually. Nobody can play Mahler Fifth Symphony without a conductor, and if they can, it's not going to be that good. Mahler needs a conductor, so you really have fun with that.
Great. I think there's one more that we skipped, and this might be a good one to end with, is from Noah Weisenberger. Why do you like to conduct and or play music?
That's a very good question. So I love to conduct because I love seeing human beings do something that's bigger than themselves. I'm not an authority figure. I'm not conducting because I want to, be an army general and be in charge of things. Like some people do that. Some people want to conduct because they want to be in charge. And I think that's a dangerous reason to want to conduct. What I love seeing is when a lot of people come together and to do something bigger than themselves and better than something they could do on their own, they all decide that they're going to give up their control, give up their ability to make something their way and say, we're going to do something all together. That's when people are at their best. And I think music is, especially an orchestra, is one of the best examples of human beings working together in a very large scale. Nobody's the boss. Everyone's trying to bring as much as they can to the table, and everyone's trying to support each other. You have to. You can't run your own way. You can't force it to go a different way than the group feels it. You have to give a lot of yourself. It's one of the best things that human beings ever do. And it only creates good. It's not some horrible story of like the pyramids being built where, okay, that's impressive too, that they all got together and did it, but it was at a horrible cost. When you play music, you're all doing it together just for the common good. It does no harm. It only does good. That's why I love doing that. And that also goes for music. Music is, everyone says it's the universal language. I always say, that's great. What are you going to do about it? If you just say music is a universal language, what does that do for anybody? You got to do something with that. That's really cool. If you are able to speak a universal language, you better get your fingers to a piano or a clarinet or use your vocal cords and then share. I think we're seeing how important it is at a time like this. Look at how everybody's online sharing their music. They're not even asking for money in a lot of cases. They should be, but they're not, because they know that sharing is more important than money right now. It shows how important music is. People don't want to hear, just all kinds of bad news. They want to be inspired by musicians that have a voice. Okay, so that's why. I think that's a really good question. That's a deep question. Well, I hope this was helpful. I really enjoyed getting to see you all. This is really kind of surreal to see so many people and to know that you all wanted to participate. And I've really, really enjoyed talking with you. I'd love to do this in person when this is all over, so I could actually, work with you in real time, not delayed by 1/100th of a minute, which is the delay on Zoom. So that's why when we were all conducting, I was seeing you conducting about a beat behind, which is totally fine because you all look good. So anyway, you can always reach me if you have any other questions. And what we should do is, the orchestra staff loves it when I do this, we should get you all tickets to an upcoming concert, or even a rehearsal, so you can see how it really works with the conducting and how rehearsals work. And so, you know, when we all get back to normal, or whatever that will be in the future, it's going to be over soon. We can all bring you out there so you can see it in action. Maybe a rehearsal would be really fun, an afternoon rehearsal when you're done with school. How does that sound?
That'd be great.
Does that sound fun?
That'd be awesome. Yeah.
All right, well, keep practicing your conducting. Maybe watch some YouTube videos of some good conductors like Leonard Bernstein or Michael Tilson Thomas or Carlos Kleiber, Herbert von Karajan, Simon Rattle. There are lots of great videos out there if you want to learn some more and watch them in action. Bernard Haitink. There's some, also for all the young women out there, there are lots of women conductors now. It's not for guys anymore. It's the time of everybody. So it's a really good time. Don't worry if you just see a bunch of old guys conducting. That was the old way. Now it's all changed around, okay? So you find a lot of great younger women who are conducting. So don't worry about that. It's for everybody, okay? And you reach out to me with any more questions. So this was so much fun. I really enjoyed seeing you all. Good luck. Stay busy at home. Okay, stay busy at home.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Give them a virtual round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Okay, here we go. Bye.